why public voting actually would be awesome. Imagine you driving in a car with your family. It's holiday and you want to decide if you want to go to the beach or if you want to go to the mountains, for example. And everybody in the car say what they want. I want to go to the mountain, I want to go to the beach. But imagine if someone said then, I don't want to say my opinion openly. I want to write my opinion on a paper and put it in a box and mix the notes and then we can see where we're going. Because I don't want to disclose where I want to go. I just want to vote secretly and then we decide how to go. What would you say about something like that? Of course it sounds ridiculous and it is ridiculous because who wouldn't want to say their opinion in front of their family? Who wouldn't want to say, I want this, I want to go to the mountain, for example? And I think in democracy we have a very similar situation. We have a very similar situation where people argue that I cannot say what I believe in because I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'm gonna lose my job. I'm afraid I'm gonna maybe even physically. You're afraid that someone will hurt you even if you disclose what you vote. So that's why we have this system today. When you vote in a democracy, that you put a note in you put a vote in the envelope and you put it in the ballot box, and then it's all counted in secrecy, etc. But I would say that if that is the case in a democracy, that we're too afraid to express our opinions, then I would say maybe there's something seriously wrong with that democracy to begin with. Maybe that's a sign that something is not unhealthy to begin with, and maybe we should start to solve that problem instead of trying to instead of going through the length of building these complicated systems where everybody can hide their opinions. And also note very much that all the problems we have with voting security, with voting fraud and election fraud and tampering with like vote counting, etc. All those problems would go away if we just voted publicly. That would be super easy if everyone just wrote publicly, like on a blockchain. Like, this is how I want to vote, and it would be super easy to verify that no one has tampered with your vote, etc. So we go through all this trouble of making voting secret, but maybe it's the completely wrong approach. I've talked in this channel about network nations, and my idea is that instead of having a dysfunctional democracy where we cannot even express our opinions clearly out of fear, instead we do like this: we vote publicly, and if we have very, very different opinions that we cannot even live together, then we should separate. Then we should split the nation into different sub-nations. We should even physically separate. We should have cities that belong to certain nations, and we should start to move there, because I think it's a very strange situation we have here now in democracy, where everybody is afraid to really express their true opinion. And now I'm not even, I mean, of course there are always some people who want to stand up and tell what they think, but in a way that not all people can do it shows that there's some kind of dysfunctionality. And of course there will be risks with this. I'm not gonna be completely naive about that. If we have a system with public voting, of course there can be dangers with that. You might need to protect yourself. You might need to have better laws with like you can carry means of self-protection, for example, if we come to that kind of situation. But then that's maybe more honest in a way, because, and also, like, if we want freedom, if we want to live in a good society, maybe that's a risk we need to take. Maybe like in that famous movie, the Dead Poet Society, at the end, where the boys stand up on the table and show their support for this teacher that was being fired. I mean, sometimes you have to make a stand, and maybe that is how democracy should work, that we vote publicly. If we can't stand each other, if we discover that we are enemies, then we need to try to separate somehow. So that's the idea. So what I'm saying actually is that public voting is actually awesome if you think of it. A side note to this is that actually you can read in my book about mutual democracy, I've actually spent a lot of time and effort to think about how, like, if you could vote in secret on the internet. So in my younger years, I even wrote designed a cryptographic algorithm that you could use to vote secretly, etc. So it's not that I think it's an interesting, like, because I'm a computer scientist I have a master degree in computer science, so I kind of like to think about such things. But technically it's an interesting problem. How could we vote secretly on the internet? But now I've come to the conclusion that we should do the complete opposite. And what we can use to do that is blockchain. We can use blockchain technology to vote completely publicly. And that is actually something we could do even without the permission of the government, because we could set up a blockchain. You could identify yourself with your blockchain keys through the blockchain, and then we can build a database of verified users that are real persons, and then we can use this system to essentially stand up for our opinions and say, this is who we are, this is what we want. I mean, imagine what would happen, for example, if 1 million people registered to such a network with verified identity and everything, and say, this is what we want to vote on, and maybe we want to build a state of our own, for example, that follows our own ideas in accordance with network nations. So that's the kind of power you could have with public voting. So if you have any comments on this, please let me know and give a comment and such. So the discussion can continue. So that's all for today. Thanks and bye bye.